Attention humans, this is a Thunk Tank. Please insert this podcast directly into your nearest orifice for viewing pleasure.
Okay, you ready? Oh shit.
Welcome to the Thunk Tank. Welcome to the Thunk Tank. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Come into our Thunk Tank.
Luke, don't switch to the other peanuts.
Welcome to the Thunk Tank. Come in the tank. We're thinking and we're drinking.
And we're thunked.
Oh my god, I'm probably more beer than man if we go far enough back at this point. 3, 2, 1, breathe.
Welcome to the Thunk Tank.
What's up?
I hope this is working.
Mine says recording, so I'm pretty confident.
That's a good sign.
That something's happening.
Ours says recording. The computer's recording. Can you still see us on Skype, Joe?
I can see you loud and clear on Skype.
All right. Well, we're here.
Let's expend a bunch of energy in a.
We're in a Thunk Tank.
Yeah. Let's cool some servers to make this shit happen.
Joe, what's the lighting like in your place?
It's not disco lighting like yours. It's dim and drunk. That's what the vibe I'm going for. I like the disco lighting though. I'm a fan, man.
So what's drunk lighting, Joe?
It's just dim.
Explain that.
Perpetual twilight.
It's just dim and kind of like writer drunk kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like you kind of settle into the shadows very, very smoothly. It's nice for writing. It's nice for thunk tanking. It works overall. It's a general vibe, you know.
All right, well let's get this started and explain to people why we're in a transcendental.
Let's also explain to them why Joe's alone.
This is a bizarro thunk tank right now.
Yeah, this is a bizarro thunk tank.
Yeah. Wait, let me crack this. Oh, there we go.
So we're doing a satellite thunk.
So let's just explain it. This is, I guess, episode 8?
Sure.
All right, so we'll confirm the math later, but I usually record with Joe in a room and we Skype in with Johnny.
He's Luke.
I'm
Luke. Nice to meet any new listeners. But I happened to be on a road trip up the East Coast. I swung through where Johnny lives, and now we bizarro world Joe, and he's alone, and we're Skyping in with him. Is that an accurate way to say that?
Shit's fucking crazy,
Covers the
dude.
most of it.
So this is going to be the beer appreciation episode, which is
and we are joined by two very special guests.
Yeah, that's why we
who
have
also appreciate beer and
stuff.
And me.
We have a much larger cast than usual.
They have their thunk caps on. Let's put it that way.
It's an ensemble.
It is an actual thunk cap.
So that voice you're hearing, well, you probably recognize the female voice from our intro. No, not Nathan.
Oh, God.
That's Cara. Welcome, Cara, to the Thunk Tank.
Good morning, humans.
You've spent a lot of time in the Thunk Tank, so just generally.
I am the Thunk Tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like the intro voice. I like it.
Yep.
So she's up to speed. That's good.
Yeah.
As far as we know, it's her. It's not like any alien, version of her or something.
Yeah.
And then we're also joined by friend of the podcast, Nathan, who's a beer advocate. We're taking a beer road trip up the East Coast, and we swung through Jeannie Johnny's house.
Yeah.
We're in a room with rainbow, what do you call this? Disco lights? We're in disco lights, and we're trying to record a beer appreciation podcast.
It's those Christmas lights that you put on the side of your house outside if you don't want to actually put up. Also, this is Nathan, by the way. Hello.
Welcome, Nathan.
Hello.
I think that I'd describe it more as the elf on the shelf's jism.
Okay.
Oh.
I haven't seen his jism personally, but it's.
He's definitely doing some jism. That guy. Come on, what else is he doing?
I don't know much about Elf on the Shelf, actually.
He's up to shenanigans.
mystery.
Trust me.
Concept.
Oh, it's the worst concept. Look at the look on that guy's face.
Just to be clear, we don't have a disco ball. We have
like a disco
ball. An outdoor lighting thing
We can
inside.
tell them it's a disco ball.
I mean, I like.
I think this is
awesome
cooler.
Disco ball.
This is cooler,
It's
I think.
glorious.
It's a great vibe.
What are you drinking, Joe?
So, should we start with what we're all drinking and just go around the circle like that?
Yeah, we could do that.
All right, Joe, you said something 10%. What do you got there?
I have tonight. I actually the last week or so, as I guess Luke. It's been cold down there too. I know, but it's been devastatingly cold up here, and so I've been drinking a lot of kind of heavier stuff. I've been enjoying a lot of like porters and that sort of thing. And so tonight it's not as cold, but it's still cold. So I decided to go with something a little heavier too. And I went with the Southern Tier Blackwater Series Thick Mint Imperial Stout.
That's so many words.
Thick mint?
It's basically a it tastes like a Girl Scout cookie Thin Mint in like beer stout form, basically.
But you take the fattest Girl Scouts that have eaten them instead of selling them, and then roast those together, and that's what you've got in the beer.
It's mostly Girl Scout. Yeah, it's like.
Now, do you buy this from young girls still?
The beer.
I mean, if they came door to door selling beer, they would get a lot of sales.
I would support the Girl Scouts a lot more if they were selling beer. I'll put it that way.
I'd be much more supportive.
A lot more what?
I could see that going awry.
If they were selling a lot more beer.
Yeah,
you would buy Samoa that.
That was good.
Can we get a?
We need a sound effect like for that kind of joke.
Yeah, like we need like the Goofy Spring thing.
Yeah,
right?
the rim shot.
Like the Always Sunny podcast.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Where they have the soundboard. Luke, you shouldn't have spilled. I can't believe you spilled beer on the soundboard last episode, and now it's ruined.
I mean, I didn't not spill beer on something. Let's put it that way.
No, but now we need money.
Joe, that's
for
what
you
usually do like two negatives and confuse me. You usually say like I didn't not do something, and I'm like, okay, I'm confused now.
Luke, we need to convince them this is legit and there's a soundboard.
I mean, speaking of soundboards, if you want us to have better and better audio. Kick us $1 per episode, and that'll help us out with that.
Or a soundboard per episode.
One soundboard per one episode would be enough to accomplish that goal.
We could sell those soundboards and make so much money.
We could flip them so fast.
This is just a front for a soundboard business, right?
I mean, if that's what this is, okay. We'll roll with that.
We could do that.
Yeah.
I don't know much about soundboards, and that's part of the problem, you know?
I know more about hustling than soundboards, so we'll figure out a balance, you know?
You can be our hustler who does like the ocular pat down of like potential customers.
Sure.
All right, Joe.
What are you drinking, Nate?
All right, so right now, me and Cara are both enjoying this wonderful beer called Woke Up Like This, which you can't really see us, but we're both kind of dressed like what you would think we would be. And this is an Imperial breakfast stout. Which is brewed with vanilla, coffee, lactose, and oats this is kind of a tongue twister, from Casita Cervecería by Duck Rabbit Craft Brewery in collaboration with Stillwater Artisanal Brewing, I believe.
Yeah. So Casita is what this newest iteration of these brewers. The newest iteration of these brewers, Casita Cervecería. I mean, they've had that name for a while, but their location now at Duck Rabbit is super exciting because it's in one of the Carolinas, undisclosed.
Is that one of the United States or one of the other Carolinas in Africa?
Yeah, the ones by Georgia or whatever.
It's near Suriname.
I drove through both Carolinas today. They're both about the same.
But the brewers are amazing, and the stuff they produce is amazing.
Yeah, and the beer's fantastic, and it has this whopping 12% ABV. So, Joe, you think you're toasty, but Cara and I are getting real toasty.
Wow, you guys are getting in deep. I like it. And you had more words and more percent, so it checks out.
I was going to say, I didn't think you could have more words than Joe's beer, but Nathan topped you.
We did. I mean, listen, I can read the government warning if you want.
But there's a correlation between words and percent, it seems like, as opposed to, Miller Lite.
Right. Which is how many words? Let me count. Okay. Oh, it's actually 2.
Light isn't even really spelt right, so it's like maybe a word and a half, and it's like no percent.
True.
So
wait, is that a real word? L-I-T-E?
No, they invented the first light beer was Miller Lite, L-I-T-E, and they spelled it that way so it
fit the label or something.
It might be a real word now, kind of like how website, like S-I-T-E is, or no, I think that was like an internet word, right? Mm-hmm. So it might be a word now because you see it on like cell phones where it will say like 4G LTE, which I don't know if that stands for light or like. I've seen like it written that way in some context, so like light L-I-T-E, but I think it's just something that I don't know. Maybe
I think it's a word now.
Maybe if it catches on enough, yeah.
Like Kleenex.
Yeah.
Or Band-Aid.
Q-tip.
Band-Aid's really a brand name. It's technically an adhesive bandage, and Band-Aid is just a brand.
Yeah, and people
what are other brands of Band-Aids?
If someone asked you for an adhesive bandage, you'd be like, "Are you an alien pretending to be a human?"
Whoa. Ace bandage.
We should make Brand-Aids.
I have a really good
Brand-Aids. It's a company that makes brands for Band-Aids.
Exactly.
And we also sell soundboards on the side.
I have a really good question along those lines. I thought this was true, but I might be being an asshole. Ketchup. Isn't ketchup a brand? KETCHUP? Isn't the actual product? Isn't it catsup? And that ketchup. What is catsup? Isn't that a thing too?
It's just.
Is it different spelling?
Yeah. That's funny because I just
always. Isn't it that like Heinz spelled it ketchup and then
really?
That took over?
I just always hated the word
I
ketchup.
don't know.
I just thought it was a stupid way of saying
I
ketchup.
actually, yeah, I thought people who said cat, whatever you're saying, I thought that was just like the same people who say axe instead of ask.
Well, then there's also the famous Louis Pasteur mustard.
Okay.
Anyways,
You know what the word in Turkish for ketchup is?
What?
The word in Turkish for ketchup?
What?
Ketchup.
Great contribution.
Thank you, Luke.
So it sounds like it's an American word then, maybe.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so I just Googled, which is,
Whoa.
Not a sponsor yet.
Why would you even listen to a podcast?
Well,
You
this
just
episode of the
Google
Thunk Tank
shit.
podcast is brought to you by Google.
Oh, no, Alphabet, I think, is what you...
Yeah,
way better.
Alphabet's
Way
running the show
better.
now, that's right.
Catsup and ketchup are two different spellings of the same. So ketchup is the westernized version, which makes sense because catsup probably...
Oh, okay.
It says
Oh.
European traders, but maybe like...
Oh, that's interesting.
German or something.
I accept that.
Did you ever
that
see
makes
that?
way more sense.
Yeah, did you ever
Called
see that
it.
in Scotland? It's spelled catsup, Cara?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah? Oh.
But they also put their eggs on the shells warm over there, so,
Yeah, I could never wrap
That's
my
a
head
thing
around
I've
that.
heard, though.
No, it's silly over here that we...
All right, so what are you drinking, Luke?
So I think didn't we start, like, as we were setting up the microphones and stuff, we started with this Cherish IPA?
Oh, yeah, Foothills Cherish IPA.
Foothills Brewing, it's somewhere in North Carolina, craft hoppiness IPA project.
Happiness.
This was pretty good, although I have to say I was busy, like, putting microphone plugs in holes and things, and I didn't take notice of, like, how it was so much.
Yeah, it's a double IPA with triple dry hop Citra hop, so it's just like, imagine if someone took like a lemon and it fucked Thor's hammer and made like a lemon baby hammer, and then you got smacked in the mouth.
So I don't
with
even
that.
know what my
anybody
mind just
can
pictured.
hold it, though. Anybody can hold it.
Well, yeah, it's a baby hammer.
Oh.
It's tiny
Well-
too, but it's mostly lemon. But imagine if someone slapped you in the mouth with that.
Johnny, you need
then
to start.
that's
You
the
need to
beer.
start writing ad copy for beers because that's gold, baby.
But anybody can hold
That's gold,
the
Jerry.
owner. You can hold it. It's just that the universe won't move around it for you.
That's
Like
right.
you could hold me, yeah. So like anybody can hold this baby lemon hammer, but they also can move the universe in their hoppy mouth with it.
Sounds good to me.
That sounds good, because we're talking about beer here after all.
Yeah, if a beer can do that.
Grab that Fonta.
Why does it sound like there's
So-
tigers on your end?
Because there are tigers on our end.
Well,
Moving on.
Because I keep drinking
Johnny's
my
getting
beer.
our next beer. So what
That
we're
sounds
doing
like
for
a
this
tiger.
podcast-
Johnny getting a new beer.
Johnny has a beer fridge in his house, so like that was the sound of the fridge opening and
Oh
closing.
God, it sounds like a deadly growl.
That's good to know.
Yeah, no, it's working clearly. I
For
like
better
it.
or worse, yeah.
It's doing its job.
So since this is like a beer sort of like appreciation episode, instead of all of us having like separate beers that we're crushing, we're gonna like share a bunch of beers as we go, and I guess as we open them, we can announce them and just kind of like spread the beer share vibe.
Otherwise known as a share.
So think of this as a virtual share.
Yeah.
If you listen to this, crack a few beers, tweet at us what you had while you listened to it.
Yes, share. And
I don't know how Twitter works, but I think you can tweet at people like that. I think.
Look, pick up your thing.
Oh, the beer spilled. I see.
The beer was just excited for the podcast.
No one else reacted at all.
I didn't even notice
I
it
thought
spilled.
you had it under control. I really did.
So, Joe, do you have any other beers besides that Southern Tier?
I kind of fucked up because this is how ill prepared I was trying to figure out the setup with the mic and everything because and this shows how incompetent I truly am that I actually filled a bowl with ice and brought up one beer in just this bowl of ice because it looked so pretty, and now I'm realizing, hey, jackass, why did you forget to put more beers in there? So I have more beers. I'm just gonna have to go get them at some point. So there will be more beers.
Whenever you need to do that, it's like you could pee at the same time, and then
I could pee. I could load up my porn. I can do lots of things.
You can kill two beers with one
Stone.
Beer.
Stone Brewing beer.
I wonder if I have Stone. No, I don't think I have Stone.
Folks, if you're wondering why we just got awkwardly like it sounded like we were whispering, like we're talking behind your back, we opened a beer and it spilled everywhere.
And we're also talking
remarkably
behind
not
your
over any of our electronics.
Is that what
We're
happened?
super
Because I
excited
did
to
not
be
guess
here.
that.
Oh, what did you guess, Joe?
I guess that like they were drunker than I thought and just stopped talking.
So maybe the drunker than you thought is a factor, but basically all that happened was beer spilled, and we were frantically trying to get it not on the electronics.
Not on the soundboards. Our many soundboards.
On our -1 soundboards.
Yeah.
And with your help, folks, we
Yeah.
could have +1 soundboards.
We're already down one soundboard. Help us, please. So, yeah, but it sounds like you guys are stocked over there. That's good. That's good.
We have a bunch of beer.
Yeah, it's
and
a pretty good time.
It's a good time.
Wait,
So
is it time to talk about this new beer?
Which-
Before we get into anything else, because this beer
this
is
new one
exciting
we're
too.
opening?
Yeah, we can keep talking
Yeah,
about
let's do
beers.
it. I mean, the whole thing is let's just talk about beer.
Yes, this beer that was just cracked is a beer from this wonderful state of North Carolina, from Fonta, Flora Brewing Company, called Ticky Buzz. It is a Kvass de Miel ale brewed with multi-grain bread, honey, and cardamom.
It's actively jizzing all
What,
over.
what was that?
Nathan
What was
while
that last one, Nathan? Cardamom?
Oh yeah, honey and cardamom.
Wow. Sounds all right. Sign me up. Is that one
So-
that you got on your voyage?
No, this is
No.
something that I've acquired because I have some really good friends.
It looks
Shout
fantastic.
Nice. awesome, dude.
So this beer is interesting. Fonta is amazing because I think I don't want to say
Fonta.
all because I don't know the facts, but at least the majority of what they use in every beer is North Carolina native. Like they use fucking sunflowers and oysters from North Carolina. And this beer, as Nathan said, there might be some ingredients that aren't. I'd have to double check with that. But this one's interesting. It's only a 3.5%, I think.
Yeah.
Quote me on that.
Yep, 3.5%.
Wow.
But like a lot of the stuff they do is like saisons, and they're super awesome. They kind of have, if you've ever, other in North Carolina, they have like I mean, they might not agree with me, but I'd say like a cousin to Hall River, right? Super worth the trip out and spending all of your money all the time.
If you have
And
to
they're
spend
opening up
all
a
your
new
money,
location.
yeah.
Well, that's actually a factor when it comes to craft beer. Like something, as a working musician, I've had to keep an eye on is like when you get really into craft beer, you have to be really careful about like how much money you're spending on beer.
Yep.
And when you're at a brewery and something really good comes up, you're just going to do it and maybe regret it later when you don't balance it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you have to budget, what else are you going to spend your money on, Luke? Food?
Well, exactly.
Come on, don't be
why-
ridiculous, Luke.
Hey, this one has bread in it.
I was going to
You're
say,
good.
yeah, it's got your grains.
Yeah, there's plenty of calories to live.
It's got honey. It's basically a fruit serving. You'll be
It's
fine.
a full meal.
Yeah.
But there's two things about it. Before we go, I want to explain what a bottle share is, because you just mentioned a share quick.
Yeah.
And unless you're like hang out with craft beer nerds, not everyone knows what that is. They're used to just showing up to a party and bringing whatever. beer they
I got
drink.
beer.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That means they like beer. You know, we just got to get them.
No,
over
it's
to our
fine.
camp.
It's just that's a vibe,
But-
you know?
But a bottle share is where instead of spending $50 to try 10 different beers, like Luke was saying, it can get really pricey.
Yeah.
You buy one really nice bottle, maybe
Right.
like treat it like buying a bottle of wine, like $10 to $20, somewhere in there. And then you go to what's known as a share, and everyone else does that, and you all get to try everyone's bottles, and that way you get to try a lot of different things that you might not normally try and save a lot of money.
And it's also super fun because it's just a bunch of cool people hanging out, drinking good beer.
And then
you
the
just
orgy breaks out.
I was just going to compare it to an orgy. God damn it.
Orgy,
yeah, I saw Cara sitting on the edge of
Cara.
her seat, like just wanting to say the word orgy.
Yeah, everybody
Well,
was
it's
waiting.
actually
Who's going to yell
that, really,
orgy?
though. Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Like in an orgy, like the pacing of the sexual tension really ramps up. And in a beer share, nobody wants to try to say.
We're gonna have to go into that, but keep
No,
going.
let them go.
Nobody wants to try to say that, there's like a hierarchy, but let's be real. If you bring like a really nice beer, you want that to be like, dare I say, the climax of that beer share.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
And it
with
might,
right?
Well, okay, hold on. Ooh,
Spew.
God damn it. I disagree with you.
How many of us have actually been to beer orgies by a show of hands?
I was.
we got one, but you can't see who it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Can we define terms? Can we define terms? Is this an orgy with beer at it, or an orgy of beer?
I mean, I think if you think you've been at one, that counts.
If you have sex with 3 people on a pallet of beer, does that count as a beer orgy?
Definitely. It's not. Okay. It's not exclusive to that, but that definitely counts. Absolutely.
Is this on Urban Dictionary, or is this just our thing?
I mean, it probably is, and if not, we could just do it. So
copyright.
Yeah.
Is that how that works?
I said it. I think it's in the bag now.
Yeah, it's
on the record.
It's been noted.
We said it first.
So Nathan hosted a beer miss thing this winter, and it was a wild event. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there, but pretty much everybody brought either like a shareable amount of an IPA or like a bigger bottle of like something like a stout or whatever. And it's just like a bunch of people all share beer. Different people go to different places, get beer that not everybody else can get, and it's a way to just share in the vibe of beer. And it's definitely less expensive when you share like that.
And I should clarify probably, because I did hear Cara mention earlier that she was not agreeing with me. With the quality of beer, I meant more in terms of just kind of having certain kinds of beer happen at certain points.
Right. Well, in my, I've done a lot of shares, and actually all of us have been to shares because I have it might have been unwillingly, or when you guys were too wasted to understand. But with the exception of Nathan, I've hosted shares that all of you have been at. So what I object to with what Nathan said is probably something that I'm misunderstanding what he was intending. But a lot of people who come to shares, they bring barrel-aged 15% cherry chocolate porters, and that's fine. Or people will bring like, a 10% double IPA, and that's again fine. Or I guess another thing that people now bring is a lot of sours, like really, intense. Whereas I whenever I go to shares, I will bring that stuff if I have it, or if I want to share anything, or it triples, like really heavy. But I'll bring other stuff. I'll bring like a really solid IPA. And I feel like...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, you're saying that people feel the pressure to bring like a big bomber
like
or something?
Said, the best beer.
Honestly, I just wanted to keep the orgy vibe going a little bit, so I tried to make the direct parallel. But Cara's definitely absolutely right there, though, because you can't have a share of like only high beers.
Because then you're all wasted.
Yeah, you get palate fatigue, Like you have like too many of these beers that are so high alcohol and they're dark or they're high hoppy, ABV things. You can't really taste them after a certain point. So Cara's exactly right.
Yeah, I'm already feeling pretty toasty, and I'm not even done with this 110%. They do work the higher percents.
But Joe, if I know your recording studio properly, you have some Japanese whiskey on the backup ready to go, right?
There's always. We did that one episode a few episodes ago where we were just like, let's just do a shot before we hit record and see. What happens.
We were about to hit record, and me and Joe just like took a shot of whiskey because like we were feeling a little like we needed coffee, but we didn't have time to make coffee.
We were like, let's just get that edge going,
So you're saying whiskey is the poor man's coffee?
Apparently,
I'm saying it works.
Whiskey is the life of man.
No, whiskey is the.
Now, can you mix the whiskey with the poor man's coffee?
Yeah, ideally.
Like, can you?
I think I was doing that too. When we did have. We did the morning podcast, and I was drinking like Frangelico and like coffee or something.
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
That was.
You know what I liked about that morning podcast is I just naturally had like more like something about the sunlight. Whenever I drink when it's daytime, I just like it makes me happier. Like it's like a better drunk. Different types of beer, different types of situations give you a different like buzz.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Something about like drinking during the day gives me a really healthy buzz. I'm like
absolutely.
Just like it's a great place to be.
It's like being drunk on a boat or in a gym.
A gym?
Now there's
in a gym on a boat.
I meant haircut place.
Haircut place.
Those exist in Portland, Oregon. They had a bunch of haircut places where you could just get a beer on tap while you're getting your haircut.
Luke, why don't you call it a barber shop?
Oh, a barber shop.
Yeah, come on, man.
Good, a bar.
Luke, that was so easy.
A bar beer shop.
A barber shop.
A bar beer shop. Oh, shit.
Yeah, we could open the bar beer.
Oh.
The bar beer.
Yeah, you get a haircut, have a beer. If we get flip enough soundboards, we'll have the equity to maybe invest in something like this.
So now our business is just flipping soundboards so we can open a bar.
Yeah. God. Oh, the rails.
So tell me if this is a horrible idea, but like, what if we went around and told like not necessarily the first beer story, but like the first funny beer story? Because like some people's first beer story is like, I had a Bud Light with my dad and went to bed, and like, you know, that's a great story.
Not with your dad though. You didn't go to bed with your dad.
No,
ideally,
had beers in separate rooms.
If that's what
they went into the bed. Sort of a family tradition.
You know, however it went down, if it's a good story, tell it. If it's like a dark story, we could hit pause. We can't. We don't have a soundboard. But does everybody have like a beer story coming to mind as like you think that idea?
I definitely have liquor.
I was gonna say I
didn't drink.
have a good first liquor experience.
I have a beer story.
It's got to be beer.
It's got to be beer. This is beer appreciation.
I mean, I have a
Joe. I have a beer story that involves you. So like,
well, no,
I
do have a good beer story that also involves you, but it's not the first one. That's the thing. I don't remember the first time I drank beer.
Oh, it doesn't have to be the first one. That's why I said the first memorable one. That like the thing that stands out in your memory.
Oh, I have a good one then. It involves Cara too. Actually.
All right, who wants to start?
It actually works. So.
By the way, folks, we're all like pretty good friends. Nathan, I met in grad school, so like he doesn't know us from like a younger age, but a lot of our beer stories might overlap. But Nathan's should be separate, right? You have one that's before our time.
I mean, it depends on the vibe. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. Who's going first? Who's going first?
We could start with Nathan. I'd like to hear because I probably
no. I gotta kind of.
You gotta ease in.
You gotta lock it down. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we'll start with Johnny.
How about Johnny? Johnny's got good stories. Yeah.
So it was me, Luke, and
oh God, I'm involved.
I'm just gonna refer to him as Brother Darkness. I don't know if
Brother Darkness.
Personal details.
Brother Darkness, if you're listening, I guess we saw him recently.
You saw him at my surprise birthday party. That's where you saw
him.
Right. this
I hope you're listening, Brother Darkness.
Shout out, much love to Brother Darkness.
Knowing him,
he's that crazy mofo. Yeah. But anyway, so it was the three of us. And we were of an age where it was difficult to have a choice of beer. That's all I'll say. So we were very young. We also necessarily couldn't find a place to drink the beer communally or legally.
Right.
So kind of mobile operation.
Sounds like you're in a courtroom telling this story.
Your Honor,
I'm trying to make
this
sure
is all I remember.
Well, because there's more crimes later in the story, so I'm trying to limit them. Not too bad, but
it sounds like you're the Always Sunny episode, like where you're trying to recount the story. Like...
Yeah, just to make myself sound in the most positive light possible. Anyway, so we're gonna start at Luke's house, but I'm sure his dad yelled at us or something.
Was it the time we were in the woods and like?
No, this was right after that. So he's like, we can't do it here. We got caught. We cleared a little area in Luke's woods and like. Had a little fire pit. We thought we were cool drinking. It was away from the house. We're like, oh, it's so brilliant, and this and that.
Right.
And his dad just randomly over breakfast one day was like, I can see you out there. I see.
Well, he was doing yard work one day, and he went back there, I guess, and he stumbled. So, like, we were so dumb about it, like, we didn't even take the empties to a good location.
Well,
so, like,
we figured we'd get a bunch and then haul them all.
Yeah, we'd do it in, like, one big thing, and he was just, like, dumping, like, leaves back there or something, and saw, like, this dugout hole in the ground, it like, the remnants of a fire pit and like 30 empty beer cans
at least. Anyway, so yeah, that was our regular spot. Got blown up. So we were like gonna start there, and then I think he showed up or something. So like shit, we had to go, and so we weren't able. We ideally wanted a case of beer, but I think all we could get because that third party had to buy it for us was a Heineken mini keg.
Oh, I know the story now.
And we did that, and I think we stole 3 plastic cups from his house, and so we were like we were just sitting in his driveway. Crushing beers, and then his dad or someone came home, so we just bolted down through the woods, and then we couldn't go back, so we just were like walking down the street with beers and a tiny keg in our arms.
Yeah.
We're like, oh fuck, we gotta find a spot, and it was also the middle of winter. It was like 30 degrees.
It was very cold, yeah.
But we found like what we thought was a secluded little dead end street, and it turned out to be a through street. So we ended up running into the woods, and we found a nice spot behind some stumps where we had to. Whenever we saw headlights, we all just ducked, and then we'd wait and then come up. And we crushed that mini keg. We drank the whole thing before we came
Joe,
back
you might know the math
woods.
on this. How many beers are in a Heineken mini keg?
At least a dozen, right?
It was like 15, I think, or something.
So it's like 5 each, and you know,
we were
pretty
at a
quickly.
very young age. But I just remember, and it was us with a terrible idea, no plan, but just trying to get to the beer and the level of the beer.
And it wasn't even cold, right?
It was no, the beer wasn't.
Yeah.
No, it was cold outside.
It was cold outside, but the beer wasn't cold.
It was colder than the beer, but we couldn't wait, so we just drank our warm mini keg.
Oh man, that's a scene.
So that's a nice light story.
It was easier to get somebody to buy you a mini keg than like a lot of other things.
Right,
that's like one thing.
It's one unit, yeah.
It's one unit of things.
It's one unit of like, are you buying this for other like people? And it's like, no, it's just a.
It's like, no, I can't split this 4 ways.
Exactly.
I mean, I can, but they all have to be close friends.
Right. Yeah, it's a little more legit in that sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that was one of the earliest, like, tried to get beer, like the impossible task of trying to get beer when you were young, and then
it felt like
get
it's
together
so
and find a
impossible.
place to drink it. Like we pulled it all off that night.
It worked, and despite 7 different ways it could have not worked.
Yeah, I think a cop car pulled up at one point.
There was a cop car at one point because it was right by a firehouse.
Yeah, and they stopped right there for a little bit, and so we just like had to lay prone and be like, I hope by the time we decide to get up, it's gone.
Also, allegedly, when you drink beer while walking along a road, you still have to pee, and then at some point you have to pee in public.
That
allegedly, that
happens.
Allegedly,
yeah.
This is all alleged.
This is a nice light hypothetical story.
I mean, allegedly, you might even have to like.
Just kidding.
Pee on the side of a firehouse for fun. You know, it's like it's hard to say what would happen.
Allegedly, Luke maybe can't stop himself from doing that. You know,
you allegedly may have puked all over another municipal building.
Allegedly,
the word allegedly is such a nice word.
It does have a nice bureaucratic ring to it. I like it.
It does, yeah.
All
right.
Okay, that's a shitty story. That's why I wanted to start off with it.
Let me thank you, Johnny, for leaving out even more incriminating details about that story.
Yeah,
like, you got the gist of it.
Yeah, I've got to wrap this up.
Oh, man.
That'll be for the Thunk Tank after the Thunk Tank?
Yeah, maybe. You know, folks, if you want to know what we do after we finish recording, we usually just keep talking. And if you want access to that, like, give us $1 and that's it.
Yeah.
Just really, like, $1 is enough to get the key in the door of the after hours.
Yeah, it was $2, and I was like, $1 is enough.
No. $1 enough. You can come in the Thunk Tank for $1.
Yeah.
We have a bouncer. You don't want to mess with him, but like $1 will get you in.
Yeah, he's
the
cool.
bouncer is just like encrypted.
Economics.
Like no, I was gonna say it's like 32-bit encryption or whatever they use.
Oh yeah, sure.
Now I'm gonna get flack for I don't know what I'm talking about with encryption.
Yeah, I don't know why you're giving more information. It's like they ask you what color this is. Well, that's an 1843 off sepia tone. It's like, that's all wrong. You're just supposed to say brown.
Yeah.
I should have just said encryption.
Yeah, you're going too deep, Luke.
Who's going next with their beer vibe?
I can go. Okay, so I have a couple options though, and I'll kind of leave it up to the Thunk Tank crew. So one of them is about one of my earliest beer stories, but it does not actually involve beer, but beer led into the funny part of the story, or there's just kind of a beer travesty that happened much later in my beer time with a loss of great beer. So I'll kind of leave that up to the Thunk Tank. What do you want to hear?
You said beer a lot. That's a good start.
Yeah, I was going to say, I heard the word beer a lot, and
that's good news.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, pick the first one that you said.
Well, I would say...
Drink the beer by the bottle.
Right. The idea is to get to a point of thunkness, like a level of thunkness.
Right,
So,
okay.
so
He says it like
somewhere
it's a word.
where beer is...
Joe, do you not have a
like
dictionary there?
Okay, well...
catalyst
Yeah.
for things.
Okay, well, so here's what happened. So I had just turned 21, because unlike a lot of these people, I had a beer before then, allegedly. But
You're getting it, yeah.
But I didn't like it really, and so I kind of waited. And then once I did turn of age in the United States, I was living down south at the time, and I was in school, and we were having a night where all of our friends went to this new craft beer store that opened up in kind of our college town. We went and we got beers that were overpriced that we thought were going to be interesting. And anyways, we go back, and then a buddy of mine was like, "Hey, I really want some Chinese food." You've all been there, right?
After drinking
Oh,
the
yeah.
After
beer?
drinking
Oh,
beer,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, the beer acts
I thought
as a catalyst.
I thought
in
you were
this
saying
story.
like before drinking.
No,
So you were like solidly buzzed for Chinese food.
right,
Gotcha.
yeah, because yes, exactly. And so a friend of mine orders our food, and it is on delivery, and so We were told approximately 25 minutes, so we watched some of the Polar Express, like you do when you drink beer. And so,
we'll let that detail slide.
We watched
I thought you said you walked to Polar Express, but you meant to say Panda.
No, we didn't
Express?
walk.
I got confused.
No, we watched the Polar Express, the great film about.
Tom Hanks was excellent.
Yeah, Tom Hanks was there the whole time.
That was the twist. It was Tom Hanks all the
Express
time.
the sequel.
It's where these pandas just try to attack this train that Samuel Jackson's got to get this FBI with.
I'm sick and tired of these pandas on this
Thunk
train.
Panda and the Polar Express?
I think I'm just pitching now. I think that's a great film.
So, anyways,
Just pitching movie.
I go down with a friend of mine, and we're like really looking forward to our shrimp lo mein and our chicken fried rice. And this van pulls up with a bunch of
Asian people.
Asian people.
I see that all the time.
And,
outside.
things that I can't read on the side of the van. And it has one of those old school, Volvo soccer mom doors that just kind of opens up to the side really quick. And this guy's like, "Oh, are you coming in?" And my friend Victor's like, "Yeah, I need to get this Asian food." So my friend goes in this van, and the door closes.
Wait, really?
And this guy starts driving away
for real?
in the city. And then I hear my friend just yelling, like, "No, stop, stop, stop." And the guy's like, "Oh, are you not like so-and-so?" And he's like, "No." And then he opened the van, and then my friend got out of the car, and then the guy's like, "Oh, well, I was told to come here to pick up so-and-so for a midnight delivery."
Oh shit, he was about to lose a fucking kidney.
We don't know what the delivery was for, but
So it got cleared up before kidneys got taken.
Yeah.
it did get cleared up.
That's good.
Oh my god. Jeez.
But the bigger issue with it was that it was quite cold at the time. We went back upstairs to the place that we were, and we had to come back down and get our Asian food later, and it was like a whole thing, and it wasn't the first car. But
Why did your friend get in the car in the first place? Is my
he wanted
first
Asian
question.
listen,
food.
we wanted Asian food, and we were all new to drinking, and so we
Yeah.
had enough to really want to get into a van.
Well, the last time he was offered that, like, the guy gave him the candy, and then the next, 3.5 years were fuzzy, and then, he had some trouble in school
That's
after
true.
that.
That's the thing. These companies just are capitalizing on.
Honestly,
These people are going to make decisions that they made when they were 12 and regretted, but we're going to capitalize on that again.
maybe. Honestly, I thought you were going to say that, he entered the van and then they, exchanged money for the food and then exited the van. But, the
Have you done
van
that?
driving away... No, I've never done that, but, that would be, more understandable than, getting in a van and having it drive away.
To think the food
Yeah,
I need is
I see what you're
inside
saying.
the van. It's here. They brought it all the way here, but it's in that van. I just have to get in the van to get it. That should set off red flags to anybody. To be
Yeah.
I just have to climb in the van.
You never get
They
in
must-
the van. That's like
Come on,
rule
man, they were
one.
21.
Because it's not like you can grab the food and run. They have a van.
It was also an all-white van, no windows. Just words.
No windows?
Yeah, it was definitely like a weird gigolo situation, I bet.
We thought it was really good at the time.
At least the guy let you out.
Wait, did
That's
you find
true.
out what happened to the van or no?
What was that?
Did you ever find out what happened to the van?
No.
They just drove off.
No.
Did someone else show up? Be like, "Oh, that's my van," and
Wait,
jump
Nathan,
in?
what,
Well,
what
we
do you, what do
oughta-
you think happened having been in the situation? Do you have any suspicions, what that was actually about?
I mean, we ought to have left one of those bells from the Polar Express to always keep tabs on this guy because that's important information.
Yeah.
But
Is
we
that how
didn't.
those bells work? Is it like a tracking device?
Yeah, the tracking
Ideally,
device.
That's how Santa keeps track of people? If you've been a
I
good
had to
little
wear an
boy?
ankle bell for 6 months.
Is that what you call being on parole?
That's how you.
Santa knows.
Santa
That's how you
knows.
explain it to children when they ask, and if they keep asking, you just, I don't know. So,
Dude.
give them the drunk old man sound.
So anyways, all this is to say, when you drink, don't get into unmarked vans.
Amen to
Having
that.
said that.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Great advice. I don't see that
I'm
advice
gonna
going bad.
cheers to that. You can't see me, but I'm cheersing.
You know what? Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh,
There you
yeah.
Oh,
That was our next beer opening. Did you hear that, Joe?
Oh, I heard it loud in beer, baby.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we're
All right,
in.
Cara, I want you to give your first beer story because I know you have some good liquor stories, but
Fuck. Well, that's the thing because when I was younger, when I was in Scotland, I drank a lot of craft beer, but then, somebody offers you some tequila, and then
Yada,
you
yada,
wake
yada.
up 3 days later.
one shot of tequila leads to another and
Yeah,
leads
okay,
to
so
another,
I guess if I'm okay to start off with a beer story, my favorite starting off with a beer story is that I was out with a friend, and we were drinking Tennent's, which is the amazing light beer that is from Glasgow, and
it's good shit.
It's way better than Bud Light.
Oh, yeah.
And we got a little drunk with that, and then we were just like, hey, the university is playing Host the Planets. Like, let's go watch.
Oh my god,
and
dude.
So,
Joe, you love that piece,
I
know.
I just wanted to say, Cara, I was literally listening to that today while I was writing.
Which
Have you
part?
ever seen it
The
live?
whole thing. No, I would love to. Oh, yeah. No, I've never heard it live, but, like, that's the one symphony that I really want to hear. Yeah, that's great, dude.
The Planets Live.
Okay, well, let me blow your mind.
Yeah.
Because I know that you've been to these places. So we were already a little drunk.
Oh, Cara, you sound so much better when you get close to the mic. Do it.
Hey there.
Get all up in that mic.
Okay, all right. This is
Oh.
awkward.
There
so
it is.
we were already a little drunk, and then we went and saw the planets in Glasgow Uni in that the big like churchy auditorium thing, Joe. So Glasgow Uni was built in the 1400s,
Yeah.
and so the like auditorium where this took place, it's all stained glass windows and like
my God.
old fucking wood. And so at the end of Neptune,
Yeah.
right? Do you recall? If anybody hasn't heard, just go.
We'll link the symphony.
We can put that in the show notes.
Because it's
Yeah.
Our favorite
fantastic.
recording of Planets.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, just like clean your house while listening to it.
Yeah, it's
You'll be so jazzed.
Do
during
anything while
Mars
listening
and
to it.
Jupiter.
Jerk off, clean your
And then-
house.
yeah.
So then, so at intermission, you could go down and they had like free wine from a box, right? Like everybody got a glass. You know, it's Glasgow, super classy. You get a wine from a box glass.
Sure.
Wait, did they give you a free box of wine or just free wine that
Damn
came
it, you
from?
ruined every story.
Oh fuck!
No,
I felt the
my
distinction.
friend had
Boo.
my friend had excessively large tatas, and so the guy who was serving this wine from a box liked her tatas. Sorry, is that too loud? It probably is.
Too loud?
I get, you know me.
What was that?
But
Oh no,
anyway,
was that?
You're a perfect volume. I thought you meant
so
like
we each had
metaphorically
like
tatas are too
a
loud.
wine from a box glass of the red and the white, because of course there is no other kind of wine from a box. It's red or white. And then at the end, we were going back to our seats, and the guy goes like, "I'm throwing this out," and she's like, "No, you're not." And he goes, "Well, we're not going to give it out afterwards. Like I'm throwing it out." She went, "No, you're not." And she took 2 wines from boxes, took them out of the boxes, put them in her purse.
Oh,
The
like
bags.
you mean like she took the bags out of the boxes and put it in her
Well,
purse?
once they're in a bag, once they're not in box form, you know,
They're in bag
yeah.
form, yeah.
Okay,
How
and
about
so then we got
And
to
she
see
said,
the rest
"Ta-ta
of Host
for
of the Planets
now."
while slapping the bag
Nice.
in this thing. And the end of Neptune, they went out the back and spiraled down the stone spiral staircase, which was like the most like spine chilling, amazing sound ever. And then we went out with these wine from a bag. We were drinking them all over the uni, and then allegedly.
Right.
And then we went. We
said allegedly
broke-
at the beginning of the podcast. It counts for everything.
and then we broke into a Kaylee.
I think.
Allegedly.
Allegedly broke into a Kaylee.
Yeah, Luke,
went
it's not
through the
taking.
back door.
Where are our lawyers right now? They haven't been calling back all
I put
night.
them on the soundboards. It's a problem.
We broke into this Kaylee through the back door with our bags, and we convinced some guys we kept giving them like slaps of the bag, and then they bought us a bunch more Tennent's, and that's all that I
Oh, it
remember.
came full beer.
It came full beer, yeah.
I like that.
Oh, okay.
All right, so it starts with the classy beers. It ends with bag slapping in a bar somewhere. In,
I mean, classic
Glasgow.
Heroes Quest, though, you know?
Yeah,
Like-
classic beer store. That was a good one.
Also,
Now we get
liquid
some
in a
beer.
bag is always a weirder experience than any other form.
Oh,
you can have
yeah,
liquid in.
definitely. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good though. It's so malleable.
I had a box
It
of
works.
wine once
What
that
about
never
cloud?
ran
If I
out.
try to make you carry a cloud, that's even more
A
awkward.
cloud?
A cloud of beer.
Can you do
Like-
that with
like
your genie powers?
Vaporized beer?
Is that...
I mean, I think if you have the right amount of heat, you can make anything into a cloud, right?
Is there beer in a bag?
I think that's science right
That's
there.
a genie... No,
Yeah,
that's a genie
well-
maneuver. That's what that shit is.
Oh, well, but he can do it, Joe.
There's
I
a type
believe
of keg
him.
called. There's a type of keg called a pig keg, I think.
Is that beer in a bag?
And well, it's a plastic keg that instead of carbonate, you fill it up with beer, and then for like homebrew, and then it has a bag with salts in it that you put in there and seal it. And when you mix them, it expands and like as a pressure, so you can open the valve and it'll expand enough when you release the valve to pour the beer for serving it, so it doesn't go flat and doesn't lose its carbonation. and then the bag just expands to push the beer out of its bag to serve. So
is it just...
there is a way to serve beer in a bag.
Oh,
Why
interesting.
Is it called a pig?
It looks like a little piggy.
Oink, oink.
It's a little brown.
We were actually just talking earlier about some people we know who have like pigs as pets. I've never experienced it, but like I'm sure it's like fulfilling. They're supposed to be really intelligent creatures.
Oh yeah.
I mean, someone's got to bring home the bacon.
Rim shot again.
That's your second pun warning of the day.
Yeah, no, Nathan's
Nathan.
got...
Was there a first pun warning?
No, it was unspoken. Wait,
Luke's decided
it wasn't
was
a pun.
unspoken.
What was it? You said
He said something really
have to-
good. I remember.
We have to cap it at 3 or it bumps us to a higher tax bracket. So we
Yeah,
only
yeah.
got one left.
So
It's a podcast
I only have
thing,
one
yeah.
left.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with your
Yeah,
next
dude,
pun.
you gotta
That's
pace, man.
intense. Joe, I'm going to do a quick sidebar and just introduce Luke and Johnny are just baby sipping over here. Nathan and I are on our next beer. Just
That's
wanted
called
to introduce
podcast
it.
experience. We know how to not have it.
We know where this is going.
Cara, the
Whereas
tank only
Nathan
spirals
and I
down
are-
from here.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, it's a black hole.
Grove from Brewery Bavana, which is it's like, oh my god, so hot right now. Brewery in Raleigh. I think it's actually in Raleigh. It's a double IPA. Grove. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
Is that what
super
I'm
nice.
having right now too?
Yeah, that's what you're having too.
Word.
Yeah, Johnny is the last one here.
Yeah, please keep that roll call going because like I'm not always aware when I have switched from one beer to another since like I look away and I look back and my thing's filled with beer.
The mark of a true connoisseur.
I was gonna say, do we?
Right.
No, the mark of a good beer share. It's like
Yeah,
things are going well for you in
the
life.
beers in each episode? Because if we don't, we should, and if we should,
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I don't think we do.
No.
We say it, but we don't list
that's
it.
dumb. We should really be doing that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a lot for this one then if we do it.
Yeah, all we have to do but also is just like keep the empties around.
Yeah, we're
like,
gonna have
we
a
just to
graveyard
not
over
be,
here.
like,
Problem there.
Just make a beer graveyard. We should take a picture of the beer graveyard, and that can be like on the post where we embed the podcast.
Yeah, well, that's how you get.
So,
people looking.
That's a cool idea. Generally, yeah.
So Luca, what's your story?
All right, so I'm like on the fence between one that involves Joe and Johnny, and one that only involves Joe.
Joe and Johnny.
Here's the thing, though. Like, the Joe and Johnny one is sort of like a decoy first beer story, and the Joe one alone is the real beer story.
Don't tell us it. Just do it.
Can you?
They're both
Why would
good.
you-
All right, I'm gonna just preface with the decoy one in like 30 seconds.
Can you combine them into
I
one
met Joe
story?
and Johnny at the beach. I met them like somewhere. Finally, I couldn't find them, and they offered me a cold Yinling. And
Yinling?
I went
Luke
right
biked
for it.
there,
You
like,
know,
several miles. And we had just been hanging out drinking Yinglings on the beach, and he texted us. We're like, he's like, you'll still be there in a half hour? I can get there by then. We're like, yeah, come by. We got like a 12-pack. Like, we'll save you a beer.
Yeah.
And there were Yinglings left. There was still like 4 or 5 left when he got there. But
see, that's
go
why I
ahead,
don't
Luke.
remember if I actually got one or not. But what I remember is like I was out and about on a bike ride, and so I was like, all right, I'm going to end up at the beach and like meet these guys, and like, you know, they'll give me a beer. I wasn't even like drinking a lot of beer at that point. Like I had just started drinking beer, and they handed me a Heineken. No, I'm sorry, a Yinling, and it's in those darker bottles, you know, and. So it's you can't really tell the liquid in there really or the color of it.
I know this
I think
story.
Joe just remembered the
Yeah.
story.
Big time.
You know, and it was after a bike ride, so I was a little bit tired. I wasn't exactly like, you know, taking in every data point that I could have. And I grabbed the beer.
He hopped off the bike. It was like it was still cold, the bottles. And like he hopped off like, oh, I'm so ready for a beer, like a refreshing beer. It was
Yep.
a hot day. And I just had it ready, handed it right to him. And he just popped the top, twisted it right off.
And then down my gullet went a big sip of seawater. The color was identical. Turns out Yinling is the
great-
same color as like water off of like a somewhat dirty like sound.
What was great,
Coast.
yeah, it was not even ocean water.
Yeah.
It was, like,
Yeah, it was-
bracket.
Ocean water is actually remarkably clear if you like scoop it up and like.
Especially
No,
with
this
that
is like
shit.
runoff
Yeah.
pesticide fluid.
Yep.
Either way, can kill you.
Yeah, but I remember your reaction because I was the one who came up with this whole scheme. It wasn't really Joe, it was on me.
Okay.
But I watched because your body kept drinking after your brain was like, "This isn't
Yeah.
right," because it was cold.
Right.
And it was like because he was drinking with like the
There was
bottle
a few
turned
data
totally
points
up,
mixed up.
and he
Yeah.
opened an eye like a shark and stared at me while like mid chug. Like I saw him recognize me. The fuck is going on?
Part of the newbie
his
factor,
body was
too.
still
Does not
drinking it.
compute.
And he was like, "Oh god!" And then we
Really
just-
quick though, it's important though, just to address that it's impressive that you had the cap back on there and fooled Luke.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I was tired. Like, that was a data point I couldn't
That sounds like an
notice.
excuse. That's an impressive job.
I
Johnny.
tore my hand out.
No,
twisting
I'm sure you were bleeding to get that cap
Oh
back
yeah,
on.
I wanted it to work, and it did.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
a
so it's-
classic, you know.
Part of what fooled me too was the fact that I was like a newbie in terms of like drinking beer. I don't even know if I had Yinling ever before in my life. So like the delay in my reaction was like, maybe this is what Yinling tastes like.
Yeah, at this point you
You
would
know?
probably smell it first. Like, even bringing it to your mouth, you would be like, wait a minute, something smells off here.
Oh, this doesn't smell like beer. This smells like a dirty diaper that's grown into like an asshole that's pooping out squirrel carcasses. I don't know.
Sure, yeah. No, you're right.
Like Yinling and water from that beach particularly smell very different. Have you ever had a bathing suit that dries up from that beach? Like, smell that shit the next day in your trunk.
It's dank, baby. Yeah.
It's not normal beach.
That's
No, it's
Your car-
it's a creature. It's like a
your
lie.
car becomes the dank tank at that point.
Yeah,
Tank.
no thunk tank, no anything.
No,
It's
just pure
dank.
dank tank, yeah.
It's like, oh, I didn't know you monger dead crabs in your trunk.
It's like, neither did
but
I.
Joe,
That's what I do. I just
I met
store
you
them up.
at that beach that summer, and I brought a plastic bag filled with Bud Light, and
Yeah.
I had been like friends with Johnny for a while and didn't really know you that well, and then Johnny was like going away to college, so he introduced me to you, and then one day you were like, "Oh, I'm chilling at the beach, like, why don't you come hang out?" And so I biked down to the beach. I snuck out about 12 Bud Lights from my house. I stole all the ice from my freezer. My dad was like, "What the fuck do you need ice for?" I was like, "It's a hot day, Dad." You know, like.
Wait, you snuck
like-
them out because they were your beers or your dad's beers?
No, they were my older brother's
Oh, they
beers,
were.
but I was not 21 allegedly in this
Right, I
fictional
got you.
story. Wait, in this version, it's like there's this dark like future where like the cops are like going after like podcaster stories.
Yeah, we're sitting in court, and it's like, according to episode 8 of Thunk Tank
Right.
podcast.
Fair enough. I mean,
I've
that's
read too much sci-fi to not think Robot Gestapo are going to try to run.
Hey,
me
you
up
can never be
Yeah.
too safe.
So-
That's true.
yeah. So this is all allegedly.
Yeah.
I put ice in a plastic bag, brought some beers to the beach, and I think you and I like each had 6 Bud Lights.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah, that sounds right.
The sun had set by that point, and our biking home was not easy.
It was all uphill, also.
It's all uphill, obviously,
in more
because
than
we
one
got to the
way.
beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was an uphill like spiritual battle of like, do I have the energy to just like keep going?
I definitely have the beer gut, but do I have the
That's my
strength?
real like really nice first beer memory, but the first one is more it's funnier for sure.
Huh. That's good. I like that.
Definitely for me because I didn't
Yeah,
have
definitely
to
for
drink the
Johnny
seawater.
because he didn't drink gross fucking green
You learned a
dank
valuable
seawater.
lesson that day, didn't you? Luke?
I learned something. I don't even know how to quantify it, but I learned something.
You might not know till you're on your deathbed and you're
it's
like,
called
oh,
life.
that was it. That was the message.
Yep.
You know?
It's called life experience. That's what he.
That's
That's
fair.
what he got.
Yeah.
That on.
I dig that.
So,
All right, well,
before we get to Joe's story, we just cracked another beer here.
Joe's like, oh man, I'm still on one beer.
Yeah,
Ah, crap.
you're not getting out of this, Joe.
Ah, shit.
Joe, you better get into the whiskey if you want to keep up here.
We're
pal.
currently drinking a beer called Duende from Athens,
Oh, yeah.
Georgia. Creature Comforts
Oh, nice.
Brewery. This is a delicious double IPA brewed with all kind of good things. They say Citra, Mosaic, Simcoe, so I assume it probably has Citra, Mosaic, and Simcoe in it.
Safe
It is
assumption.
Yeah.
quite fantastic, and Luke and I were just down there, and it's a great place, great operation. Some awesome beers coming out of Athens, Georgia, for sure.
We're taking a beer road trip up the East Coast, so keep an eye out on future episodes. Hopefully, we'll be like incorporating some of the beers we get on the way back up to the Northeast. I don't even know what we're getting. I don't even know what my budget will allow, but I'll get.
We'll figure it
stuff.
out tomorrow.
We'll get some stuff.
We got you, buddy.
So, Joe, please. Enlighten us.
Enlighten us with your beer story, Joe.
Crap.
Wait, we just gave Joe like the NPR voice like intro to the beer story. All of us were like partying, like yeah.
And
then for Joe, we're like, and Joe, give us
Ira Glass intro. And Joe, Act 1.
Well, I gotta think of something that's not too incriminating. I mean, allegedly too incriminating.
Allegedly.
yeah, the word's really magical. Just like start using it and you'll realize how free you are.
You know what? Okay, so I have one that it's not like a first beer story because again, I don't know if I remember my first beer story, but I do remember my first beer story.
Isn't that the beer story then?
Well, that's the age-old question, Luke.
I mean, the great moments, there's no good stories to it sometimes. Like,
My
I
name's
broke a fence once because I was hammered and ran.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, Ossiface.
There's no story. I just got drunk and broke someone's fence.
My
But it was an
name's Joe,
incredible moment.
and my first beer story probably happened.
Oh, actually,
Moving on.
That's so funny because you just reminded me of a good one with you, Luke, and I totally can't say
God.
it on here.
Oh, well, that's enough. Enough said, I guess,
Yeah,
right?
and you probably know which one I'm talking about, but
Yeah, it has to do with the fence, right?
yeah, kind of.
But join us on After the Tank.
Yeah, join us for Drunk Tank. Donate $1, and who knows what we'll talk about on Drunk Tank.
But I do remember one that is memorable, and it is an early one, but it's very quick. And the reason why I like this one is because it's the first time I don't remember doing something very successfully very drunk. So, long story short, well, it's not a long story, but it was one of those nights, again, like you were saying, Luke, kind of when back in my days of early drinking, and sort of when you kind of don't have those boundaries, right, or those like borders or limitations. And
You and I still have no boundaries, Joe.
well, I would like to think we still have no boundaries, but like I think
We don't.
Even if you had boundaries at that point, Joe, they're so porous.
no, that's what I mean. Like I have boundaries now, I just don't always follow them.
Focusing on the porous
Yeah,
aspect of it.
it's like, but back then I didn't know that boundaries existed. It was just like, well, I'm gonna keep drinking and like keep drinking and keep drinking
right,
and keep drinking. So
and not even like consider the memory of last time that didn't work for you.
exactly.
What's the difference?
Um,
to now.
well, so you're in this story too, Cara. Actually,
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I'm never gonna drink again, and I really need a drink. It's that mindset. Like, oh god, you wake up, you're like, I'm never drinking again. But
I just gotta forget that story. Someone pull me,
You're
pour
like,
me a
it's
cold
so
one.
hard that I don't have to drink that I need a drink.
well, no, that's what happens though sometimes, and like so this
cycle,
story basically it was one of those nights where I had been drinking a fair amount. I think I might have been drinking with you, Cara. I'm not sure, but anyways, I wound up at a house party, like a local house party or whatever.
Fuck.
Yeah, and it was one of those nights where I just kept drinking. Everybody was partying, and it was one of those times where I lost track of beers. I lost count at like 18 beers. Like
You were there with Luke. I dropped you off and you met Luke there, and then I picked you up.
Okay, so that's what happened apparently, but no.
Why am I always involved in like the bad parts of like everyone's stories?
But
Listen, only allegedly.
only
He's
allegedly
in the
well,
background.
we already allegedly edited
because
this
I
whole
thought
episode.
I remembered drinking with Luke too, and then we went to this house party, and I lost track at 18, and then at some point I was like, I went to leave, and I remember there's this table.
You don't remember shit.
Well, here's the thing. Like the last thing I remembered at the party was that there was this table of like empties, and it was like a beer pyramid of empties, and it just grew throughout the course of the night because people were just going like off the wall crazy. Like people were throwing up. Like people were getting wild. And I remember right before I left, I just like tanked into the table full of beer pyramid and just
you were the bowling ball that got a strike.
yeah
Somebody escorted you out of
I
the
struck
house.
it out.
I came to pick you up, and they helped you get.
Well,
out.
no, they were just like this one guy was just like, yeah, you gotta go, and I was like, yeah, I know, and I just left. And then Cara was outside, and she picked us up, and then apparently we went back to Cara's place, and I just owned in video games, but I have no memory of it because I remember the next day Cara was like, yeah, Joe, you just destroyed everybody. So
Wait, can I adjunct
sure
to this story? Because I was not blacked out at this point, I picked you up.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, thank God, yeah.
She's like, I wasn't blacked out when I picked him up.
Allegedly.
I was just wasted.
We brought you home and we were playing Wario
Allegedly.
World, right? Was that not the name of it?
I have no idea.
I don't know if I
Warrior
was here.
something.
Was I here for the video?
Yeah,
game
see,
part?
because I was thinking like Mario Kart, Mario
No.
Party.
I remember playing
It's
video games,
Wario,
but nothing
It's
specific.
called shit. Sorry, it's called Wario something.
Oh, WarioWare, right?
WarioWare. That's it. And it's basically like the most Japanese version of Mario that you could think
Nice.
of. Like you do all these fucked up games on the Wii. So like they're very odd. Like some of them, you're like popping baby heads and like pulling noodles out of somebody's nose.
That's just called a Tuesday, baby.
Johnny, you gotta come up here, man. But we picked up Joe, and we, unbeknownst to us,
I heard you.
was not cognitively functional, and he kicked all of our asses. I was there with like 5 or 6 of my cousins.
That's right, yeah,
and,
you had like
Christian-
family there.
And, and you kicked all of our asses
I was
so
there.
badly. You were there.
I just remembered it when you said all the cousins were there. It just popped into my memory.
Yeah, no, this
and
happened.
Luke and Joe just killed all of our asses, and it was during the winter time. And I think this is the same story.
Oh my God,
and then
is this
Joe
the time I
just goes-
slid home?
Yeah. So Joe's family.
Wow, the story got way better.
Sled
lives down
home?
a very steep, very dark. It's from the town we grew up in was from the late 1600s, and so
shit.
some of these roads, like, there's just no way that they can put in streetlights. And there was snow on the ground or ice or something, and Joe leaves.
No, I
and
left with the
goes-
sled though.
And the last thing you like mumbled, which was not English, you were like sled.
It's a mostly 45 degree angle street for like a quarter mile with no lights on it.
Now, Joe,
Half
you
mile.
were aware that like you sledding home was not part of the video game, right?
No,
I got
I'm not
Nathan,
aware.
I
Or were
don't
you just
tell
like
you,
pressing
but
A the
Nathan,
whole way
I
home? You were
collected a
like,
shitload
I'm
of
going,
points on
I'm
that ride
going.
home. That's all I can tell you.
Right?
That's all I can say, man.
And the scary part is it's not clear the boundary between like you know, you let your brain tickle yourself a little bit. You're like, oh, this is just like the video game. And then a certain part of you was like, no, this is just like the video game. And you start to believe it.
But
you know?
I was so
Even
good at the
the
video
ride.
games that it was no problem.
Yeah, and you got like 3 more lives, so just go for it. Really
Yeah.
lean into that curve.
Like a cat or an asshole, whatever.
This is not like a small hill we're talking about. This is like to walk down will take at least 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Or up.
It's dangerous to bike down it in good weather during
Yeah,
the
but it was
daytime,
freshly
let alone
snowed,
be
so nobody was
blackout
driving.
at
Yeah.
night in the
I mean, it's
snow.
dangerous to
Yeah,
walk on it in the summer.
He made it though.
And yeah, I didn't know that he was alive.
Yeah.
But I was like, fuck it. Like, I'm not driving more in the snow down this treacherous hill. And
Honestly, that's a badass way to get home, though, right?
It is a badass way.
Yeah, I would
yeah,
never
I heard
do
the
it
next
again
day
or
that
never
his-
advise anybody to do that, but it happened, you know.
Yeah, Tommy got you. Like, he was like awake, and you like came in and were trying to like drag the sled inside or something. You have to ask him. And you were just like so fucked up. He was just
Nah,
like,
I was fine by
do
then.
you want me to help you? And yeah, and he was just and you were just like, no, I'm good.
I'm
Just
good.
went to bed.
I good.
good. It's like Charlie
Yeah, Joe,
Kelly
you
in
have
that
like
episode
a,
of
if you
Always
get too
Sunny,
wasted.
where he drinks 72 beers and he's like, I got all the scores. I good.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's like he just can't use words at that point.
On the baseball field at the end?
I got all numbers.
Yeah. Joe, you have that same kind of wiring, like when you get like drunk enough, like you just go into like, it's almost like I'm just like a computer who sees exactly what I need to do to like make this safe. Like I do this, and then I good.
Well, Luke, you have to remember though, allegedly.
Although almost
I
dying.
already allegedly edited this whole thing. Don't worry.
Thank God.
It's lawyer talk. You wouldn't get it.
No,
but-
it's as long as it's been stated for the record, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost dying does sober you up very quickly, though.
That's
Like,
true.
high
That's true, yeah.
adrenaline Stuff
Oh,
can
for
do it
sure,
too,
yeah.
Yeah.
For a short period.
That's a real thing.
And then
Yeah.
I just want to say, Kevin at Fish Fest.
Yeah.
Let's not get into that one.
That was it. That's not a beer.
I wasn't even there, and like I know way more details
let's
than
not
I
get
would.
That's the
comes
fact
on.
that Nathan is like, yeah.
But I do kind of have a question though. After just kind of Joe's excellent story to kind of help maybe offer some other sort of angle on this beer vibe. And Cara is pointing to an empty glass, which is a travesty, but it's gonna get filled back up here right away.
Yeah.
So Before we get into, who knows where this is going to go, to kind of keep things on like a nice positive beer light, I'm curious if any of you thunkers, what do you guys call yourselves?
We call ourselves, Joe, is it thunkers?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
so...
of course.
Is that what the Twitter is? Like?
Oh, yeah, that's
thunkers.
true. Our Twitter...
we call ourselves the Thunk Tankers, right?
Our Twitter
Okay.
handle is at Thunk Tankers. So we're...
Shameless plug at Thunk Tankers. Okay, so if any of you Thunk Tankers have a certain... Because, we're in a new year now. That was awesome. If any of you guys have a certain beer or brewery that you were really impressed by this past year, that you specifically want to shout out, that you thought was doing awesome shit, or just had a really amazing beer, or is being involved in a really cool community, that you think needs a shout out on this podcast, let's talk about this stuff. Have things in a positive light. Not
you mean like the best of the best in like the craft beer world and like the vibe that we all
not
love.
like everyone, but if someone has like, ooh, this place needs to be shouted out, let's do it. Cara's looking eager.
Well, I was gonna say let's Dilbert this.
Dilbert, I like that comment.
Because I think that Dilbert does some of the best segues. Let's just quick, not stories. Let's just quick go around and say like right now, if we're gonna like, what's our happy beer drink? Does that make sense?
Oh, you mean like the beer when you're just like
all the time you're like, this
trying to be
is my
totally
kind
present,
of go-to.
like,
Let's say money is not an option, and for me, it's gonna be Burial's Hawkbill at this moment. I've been through a lot of like beer styles, but right now, like that is just what I want to drink all the fucking time. Nathan?
We're
going.
by the way, Cara, I had Hawkbill in Atlanta on Saturday night with dinner. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, my go-to is probably almost any of the DDH, which is a shortening of a phrase called double dry hopped, for those of you out there who might not know. A beer where they just kind of add some extra hops after the initial kind of process vibe gets happening. Twice, in case you missed that from the double.
Twice is good.
I saw Johnny, he's like, they do add hops, but obviously twice. That's the double part.
But there's a brewery up in Massachusetts called Trillium Brewing Company that almost any of their DDH beers, we call them,
Joe knows, yeah,
are kind of my go-to, and I think that Luke might also say this. There's a beer they have called Fort Point, all kind of other funny beers.
Oh, buddy, that's what I was going to say. I still
but,
answer.
Thanks to Luke, we have that right.
But I want to kind of... Yeah, they have one, Luke. But I just kind of want to segue that real quick before going on. That has been my number one brewery this past year, I think, Trillium.
Trillium? Okay.
Yeah, because, one, they're making excellent beer.
Yeah, but which one?
Which beer specifically?
Yeah.
Well, the beer... Okay, the beer in folk... okay. It's a beer called Headroom. It's a double IPA from them, which is brewed once a year. I just happened to be at the brewery when they had growlers of it, or I wouldn't have gotten it. I was there on the way up to an artist residency up in New Hampshire. I was checking out at the place. I was buying some cans, and the girl at the counter was like, we had this beer in growlers called Headroom. You might want to get some. And I was like, it's kind of pricey. And she was like, listen, you need to get one. And I was like, okay. And so I got one, and I was with a buddy of mine and went back to our Airbnb, and it was the most amazing IPA.
Was that with Will? Oh no, you were going up to the festival.
Ford.
I had.
It was hands down the best IPA I had of all 2017. I don't know what they put into that beer, but shout out if anyone can find that beer next year. It comes out in August every year. It's called Headroom by Trillium Brewing Company. It's absolutely excellent, and that place brews amazing beer. They have a lot of it, which they sell.
So easy to get, which is what I love. It's very hard to get great beer.
They brew so much of their beer. You can go there any day of the week and get excellent cans to go home and share with people you love.
Not always the same beers, but
right, it's always different, but they always have cans. You know?
And Johnny will attest that brewing a lot of a really good beer is hard.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And also at Trillium, they have amazing IPAs. They have great sours, like all their Super Soak series. They have great stouts, like their kick-out stout this year was called Affogato, which was
we had that there.
Yeah, which was this like Imperial like coffee stout thing that was just really excellent.
It tasted like an ice cream sundae, but like not the bullshit part of an ice cream sundae in a beer. And so
my shout out this year as beer that I want is Headroom from Trillium, and my go-to brewery this year, I think, just with how they're handling things and being a part their community and kind of like getting beer into people's hands to go have with other people to act as a catalyst for cool moments is Trillium. So, anyways,
yeah, I have to say Trillium's beer of 4 Point DDH 4 Point.
Oh, it's so good.
Was my favorite.
But
I had moments with that beer where I was just like really present moment, like getting like spiritual with this beer, just being like, how do you taste this good?
Wait, do you guys hear that?
Each sip, I'm like, fuck, how do you taste this good?
Joe.
Yeah, Joe.
Oh, is that Joe?
You got Burial.
But I'm not. My question.
Oh, you have a Burial?
Yeah, that's a you guys beer, Asheville, NC.
Yeah, but.
No, I know. Like,
kind?
I didn't know you had a Burial.
Burial.
Oh, is that the one I left in your fridge, dude? I knew it was. Yeah.
Which one, Joe?
Gang of Blades, double IPA, baby.
Oh, Gang of Blades, good. But
Get back to Cara.
Burial's another one that's like they're so diverse and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
But my question isn't about the best beer you've had. It's like, what is your like go-to easy drinking? Like not necessarily like I'm gonna have one and then need to stop. It's like Hawkbill. I could drink 5 of those every day and be super happy. So I'm gonna throw it over to Joe right now. Joe, what would be your thing that
Wait, let's finish Nathan's thing.
You
started. He suggested something like, let's do this instead.
That's fine. No, it's fine. Listen,
That's a good idea.
It's pretty similar. I think what they're both drunkenly trying to say is like, can we say the beer we loved most this year?
Well,
right?
no. There's a difference though, because right. I get what Cara's saying. I can't have heavy rum all the time. I was only able to get 2 growlers of this beer. And it's very hard to get. So, on Cara's line, a beer that I'm able to get like a lot of all the time.
Meant like the regular occurrence beer.
Well,
right.
Well, not necessarily that you can specifically get all the time, but one that you know, brothers, you could drink all the time. Like Hawkbill, I love that beer, but it's not the best beer that I've had, even within the last couple of months, and it's definitely not the most. It's not rare, but like it doesn't matter about rarity. It's like one that your go-to. Like I'm chilling. I'm not looking to like. I mean, it's rare for me to not want to try something new or something crazy. It's what I'm like, super chilling, just like drinking in the background. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
I get what you mean.
I would imagine that most of the U.S. that's like.
In a way, that's a more personal beer for a person than their beer on a pedestal too.
Yeah, so my go-to for that actually is from a New York brewing company called Other Half Brewing. They brew a session IPA called Small Green Everything.
Oh yeah,
which is a part of their. They have a series of beers called Green, and one part of this series is called Small Green Everything, which is a session IPA, so it's a very low alcohol IPA, but it's just like an amazing poolside beer, and it's like extremely affordable, easy to get a hold of. It's on tap all around the city.
It's not one of their beers that you have to like be a warrior to get, which is nice. Like if a beer that is easy to get is also really, really good, that's like a good balance.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great. It's like ultra sessionable. It tastes great. That's probably been my go-to this past year of what I've had almost every month, like at least like a few 4-packs in my fridge of all the time.
Yeah.
Cool.
I get your question now for sure.
Yeah.
Got it. Thanks for clarification.
So sorry to crack down.
No, I actually like that. I like that distinction.
That's a great distinction
because, like,
for sure.
For me, the Fort Point, like I remember one night, like me and my girlfriend cracked a Fort Point and we were sharing it, and we both just like, I don't know, like the beer gods were just with us that night, you know? And like every sip I just like a musical chord that was perfectly balanced. The taste just like hit me, and just as it was about to be aggressive in any one dimension, it was balanced by another dimension. And at the end of it, I was just left being like, oh my God, like that was amazing. So that was a really but I can't get that all the time, right?
What beer was that?
That was the DDH Trillium Fort Point. I think I gave you a few of those, right?
The Trillium, yeah.
At least one of them, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
And something about those beers, like they aged about a week from when we picked them up, and I had one like the day after, and the one a week later for some reason was like just tweaked a little bit, and it was slightly better, and it just came alive like that extra little bit. It was really amazing.
That's good beer. It happens.
But then it also ages fast and like can decline very rapidly too. It just depends on the beer.
But that's a beer that you would drink every day, all the time, just as your like baseline beer. That's what I'm asking.
I don't think so. From the music perspective, it would be like you asking me like, choose your favorite symphony. Do you want to hear that every day? I would say definitely not.
Yeah, but beer's not like.
So I would say I wouldn't want to drink that every day. Like I would want to drink something like a little bit more like what I'm having now.
So that's what I'm asking. What would that beer be? Like mine would either be probably Hawkbill or potentially Foothills Black IPA, their Frostbite.
I see. I don't know what that beer would be. I think that role can be filled by a lot of different kind of beers for me.
Sure.
Because it just needs to be something that's not like insanely special in some dynamic, but it's just like really balanced. I love the word balance when it comes to like any kind of flavor thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it just really like, it just needs to feel good,
Yeah.
I can't give you a specific beer name because like it's just more about like if it fulfills that quality, I'm into it,
And Johnny and Joe, what do y'all think?
Joe?
I think
Joe,
I'm still not sure I quite understand the question. Not because I don't understand it, just because I'm an idiot, which I think is the same thing. But to answer the question,
Joe, you're confusing yourself more and more.
I'm quite aware. That's the one thing I am quite aware of. But I guess my answer would be if I think about a beer that in the past year I've really it's become like a beer that pretty much in any setting I'm like I crave it sort of, and I just
sure.
That's
I'm just kind of like in different settings. I'm like, oh yeah, I can vibe with this beer. To me, that's probably the Sand City Second Wave.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
And
absolutely.
it's just
great beer.
I mean, there's just something about that beer that it's very refreshing to me almost. I mean, it's an IPA, but it's very it's just whenever I have it, I feel like I can just exhale. I'm just like I'm like relaxed in a way that's it's almost like I don't know. It's different than a lot of other IPAs.
I'll tell you how it's different. It's 8.4%.
Well, that helps, but
like that.
And I think like you were saying, Luke, the one thing about that is that the timing really does make a difference. I think the age that it's done, but overall, like whenever I have that beer, it's just like it puts me in a good place. So shout out to Sand City.
Well, Joe,
sure.
you and I had one of those on New Year's Eve.
Yes, we did. Yeah,
That stuff's freaking good.
And it was
shout
fresh.
out to
It
Sand
tasted
City
great.
in Northport, New York.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Thanks for brewing some awesome beer.
They're doing great stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sand City.
Hold on. Sorry to be a stickler. Can we say possibly in Northport/Pending?
Nah.
We'll get to not right now. Maybe they're encountering some identity things they're working through as a brewery, but they're brewing some really cool stuff.
Yeah, they're a great company. They'll
They're
work
brewing.
it out.
They're doing it. They're brewing. They're
that's
brewing,
a hot take
they're
for later,
brewing and
maybe.
doing. It's all good.
By the way, Joe, they had that release yesterday that I sent you about. It was
Yeah, did
like
you go,
Infinity
Joe?
plus 2.
Nah, I had work.
It started at 5 p.m. and at 5:45 I got a tweet alert that they were sold
Fuck,
out.
So
man.
Johnny,
Yeah, I believe it.
what do you think?
Yeah.
So the beer that
Isn't a hard
It's
question?
a really hard question.
it's
right?
It's a
hard
great question,
question.
Cara.
No,
It's a
I
great
know
question.
It's not that
It's a good
hard.
question,
It's a
though, yeah.
very good question for sure.
There's no way to answer the question without sounding like a pretentious asshole.
Not with that
This
attitude.
is that's a helpful start,
Yeah.
though.
I'm just going to
say,
start with
like,
the brewery I give the shout out to, which is going to be Full Steam. 'Cause
Okay.
I had their what was it called? It was their they make a lot of beer with like super local shit, and one of them is their Farm's Edge Belgian Golden Ale with pawpaws.
Hold on,
Pawpaw?
sorry. Quick, just a very quick aside. The Farm's Edge is a series, and the Pawpaw is a beer under that.
Cool.
Pawpaw.
Yeah, and so it's the Farm's Edge, but they use wild pawpaw, which the only other time I had to do some research that I had heard of a pawpaw is when Baloo sings about it in the Jungle Book.
Nice.
And apparently, though, it is like a tropical fruit with some very distinct flavors, and it's just not really cultivated anymore for whatever reason. I don't remember why, but I think it has too distinct a taste, but they started growing it for brewing. Apparently, it gives some real interesting flavors in beer, and it really does.
Cool.
It was one of the weirder, more interesting beers. And Full Steam does a lot of cool little... Full Steam's out in Durham, North Carolina,
nice.
I think. Or Raleigh. I forget which, but...
It's out there.
Yeah, so they've done... It's out there. And they've done a lot of cool, weird shit.
They're Durham.
And I've just had a lot of beers from them that are good.
And I have not had any of their beer, but I've only heard great things from you and others. So make sure if you're around North Carolina to check out Full Steam for sure.
You do the fucking hot.
So sorry, I have a quick comment about Full Steam. So I don't know why, but I feel like I had a lot of Full Steam before moving to North Carolina, and I was under the misconception that they were not owned by themselves. I don't know why. But
that was Anchor Steam, Cara. You were just wasted.
No. I feel like I had some
No,
stuff from
just
them. And then I moved here and I started trying their beers and I was like, shit. And then I went to their brewery and they have some fucking dope ass shit.
That happens,
That's
yeah.
what I heard.
They have a lot of stuff that they just sell either just at the brewery or like relatively locally, and it is all awesome.
Yeah, check them out. I've heard only amazing things. Yeah. I want to go there immediately, but
I want to go to there.
Yeah, hashtag Liz Lemon.
Nice. That's right.
So, I'm kind of curious now, just a little bit, because, that was like a lot of really great positive talk about sort of what's been going on in beer in North America and the U.S. especially, although,
By the way, my beer's full. This is how it's happening. Like, I left and went to go to the bathroom with an empty beer, and now it's full. So
that's how it goes.
But I am kind of curious. I mean, we could talk this entire podcast for literally hours about awesome beer that we enjoy, but I think it's important also, like any kind of consumer good, to kind of think critically about our beverage that we're consuming and think about the industry and the people behind it. So there's kind of one sort of hot take, if you will, that I've kind of been thinking about a lot that especially affects myself and Luke and Joe up in New York, but also as I was just kind of talking with Johnny down here in North Carolina as well. But that's sort of this concept of artificial scarcity among breweries, which is this kind of new thing. And what that means, just kind of as like a basic explanation, is that a brewery gets... What was that?
Like Jordans and shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a brewery.
Or Tickle Me Elmos at Christmas.
Yeah, a brewery gets a lot of hype, and people in the country say, "I want this beer." This brewery then says, "Okay, we have a choice now. We can either A, make enough beer to give everyone our beer, or B, we cannot make enough beer to make our beer intentionally hard to get to try to up the after release value or the trade value or the resale value or whatever it might be." And
however you quantify that value.
And there's a lot of thoughts about this. I'm kind of curious for everyone here, sort of what your thoughts are. You don't have to mention breweries, but you are free if you want to mention certain breweries. But I'm just kind of curious y'all's thoughts on this, and if you think that's a successful way of improving hype, of continuing hype, of making your beer better, of making it worse, or of ultimately alienating a fan base eventually. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Shit.
My first thought is there's this perfect version of being in it just for like the pure, beautiful reasons that everyone wants to hear. My second thought would be like, I understand that like to be a business is like a different thing than I probably know a lot about, and that's where my thoughts are kind of ending. Like, so I can kind of see it from one perspective, but I can kind of see it from like the don't you like see it from like the just like, man, beer's about this pure thing, and like don't do things that are like counter to that, but I have no experience in the actual field to know really.
Well, so there's that first, is hopefully quality isn't a factor of this.
Sure.
Because you can always, in any industry, not just beer, is make a decision is, we're making something people really like because it's good quality. We could thin it out and make twice as much and charge the same. That's a decision a lot of things have made. Everything from fucking
Stop and Shop to whatever.
Whatever. Pick a thing, you know?
Pick a thing. It's fucked. It's done that,
you know, planned obsolescence and all that.
Yeah.
But, so you got to hope. Let's just assume that's not part of the decision. That no matter the scale, they're keeping quality in mind, and it's all about that. Just the scarcity thing. Whether it's sometimes it's real. So you know, the small place can only make so much, and there's a lot of hype. Sorry, we sold out.
Right.
You could purposely not make enough, like you were saying. You could make enough and just release it slowly. That's what I don't know of too many breweries that do it personally, but that's what how shoes work. I was saying like Jordans or whatever.
Sure.
If 2 million people are willing to spend $400 for a shoe, they only release 50,000 at a time, so it keeps the price up. So
and you were sort of saying that with iPhones too, right? Like how like an iPhone, they might say like, oh, we might sell out, so it actually encourages more people to order early.
So the other thing is, let's say it is a problem as a brewery. You're small and you can't keep up with the demand for your releases, and you do get big enough, like you still might focus on quality. And even if your other releases of other beers you do much higher volume, why do you not release as much of that one? Well, that's the one that was the rare one, hard to find. We don't want to send it out too far, like at the risk of quality. So
that's a really good point, because when you send a beer out like farther distance, it's going to decrease in quality, at least a lot of these type of beers, which age very quickly. And you have less and less control over the quality the farther it gets from you. So like imagine the type of beer that you only released at a brewery and you served it to somebody in a glass.
Or a crowler. They had to come to you and buy it.
Even that, but like I'm just saying a glass because like they have to drink it right there. As compared to a crowler, they could go put it in their cellar, and then like their cousin comes over like 4 weeks later and it's been in like a hot cellar. And I don't mean like a cellar for beer. I mean like the bad kind. The bad kind. And they crack open this can and they're like, hey, this is what Treehouse tastes like. This is what this tastes like.
Well, that's why a lot of places, I used to get really angry. I'd go into a place with a growler and ask them to fill it. And if it's not their growler, they won't fill it.
Yeah, what the fuck's that about?
And
that's a weird thing.
Like pretty aggressive with me. They're like, "Is that place's growler? Those guys are assholes." And I'm like, "Why do you sound like that?"
Yeah, they don't like them. And
that's a personal thing. But the only decent explanation I heard someone said is to go, "Well, we put a lot of care and stuff into our beer. So if you put our beer in someone else's growler, then they'll get the credit for this amazing beer when really it was us."
I think that's still bullshit.
And if they don't, I'm just saying that was the only like somewhat legitimate excuse.
I mean, that's more legitimate, but the vibe that I've heard is more just like people are. I mean, I've gone to places too where they're like, you can't get a growler filled that's not ours. You have to buy ours. And I'm like, then I'm leaving.
Yeah,
wait, Joe, what if you brought one that was theirs but from a previous time?
Oh, that's fine, but I've had places where they're like, we won't fill growlers that aren't ours, and I'm like, then I'm not buying your beer.
Right, and so he said they don't want to fill outside growlers because then people think that brewery made this great beer, and then they also said they were like, well, we don't want you to use our growler at other places either, because what if it's really bad beer they put in it, and then you think that's our beer? We want you to just judge our beer for our beer. I was like, all right, that's kind of a weird OCD
that's
approach,
what I mean. I understand that as like a concept, but I don't think it's actually. I don't think that actually really makes a difference in the big scheme of marketing. I just don't buy it.
Yeah.
So, but there is a way to do it without the quality necessarily being like a sacrifice.
Well, for
Whereas
sure.
there's definitely a way for the quality to be a sacrifice if like that's the route you're choosing. Think Walmart. Like the apples at Walmart probably aren't like thought about that much.
No, we don't have to leave the field. Think Budweiser.
Right.
The reason they picked like a near flavorless light Pilsner that you serve super cold is that ships really well. You can ship that to the other side of the planet and it'll taste exactly the same as it did in St. Louis for at least 6 months because it's just.
You better believe it. Well, in fact, I saw Bud. All right, I'm not going to try to do a southern accent. No, I can't.
Talk about drinking Bud Light down here in Alabama now.
Did you say Obama?
Wait, Joe, can we tell you a story? So before we started recording this podcast, we had gone out and grabbed a bite to eat, and we got a beer.
And a hush puppy.
The Uber driver we had home. Joe, have I ever shown you this comedian on YouTube called Mumbles?
No.
There's this comedian who has a YouTube channel. I think he does things mostly on YouTube, and he has a character called Mumbles.
How you doing there, Mumbly?
He has a character.
Luke's getting in deep.
Sorry, I got distracted. I should stay focused. Yeah. Anyways,
Luke is tanking.
I'm tanking.
I take responsibility for that one.
I'm in the tank though. I take responsibility
Nathan
for
has definitely been a catalyst.
Yeah.
towards the
Nathan's a
funkier
catalyst.
side of
Don't
this,
let Nathan
so-
fool you.
Oh yeah,
I am
Nathan's
not
a
some
pro,
sort of
baby.
enzyme or catalyst.
he's an enzyme. That's what he is.
He's an
Yeah.
all-star.
enzyme.
You're like a protein that helps the reaction happen.
good.
Sexy
bro.
friggin' protein.
Hey,
though.
you wouldn't have
Right?
you wouldn't have beer without enzymes.
See, it's just
not
it's
possible.
all
Full
full
circle,
circle.
full circle.
It's all, this whole podcast is a giant circle.
So Joe, our Uber driver home, we had a whole conversation with him for 20 minutes, and towards the end of it, I whispered to Cara, and I said, "This might as well be in a different language." Like it didn't matter. Like he was going, "Well, yeah, the game last night." Blah, blah, blah,
He was about football.
but he
Hey,
was just
go Chiefs!
he was mumbling random
But
things.
how confused were you about the football jargon versus the accent is the question.
Well, Joe,
Luke
that's
could
the
actually
thing.
hang in that
I
conversation.
hung in the conversation hardcore because I was in Georgia for this big Georgia versus Alabama game last night, so I watched the entire game, and I
is
had
amazing.
all the
Oh,
data
wow,
on
yeah.
the game. So I was riffing with this guy, even though he was speaking a language of gibberish.
Side back
And you were just like, oh yeah, pass rushers, man.
No, I was like, oh well, I couldn't believe they switched out for the
pass rushers
freshman
be a
QB.
big
That
man.
kicker, though!
Yeah.
I assume xenophobically that even though I live in a mysterious Carolina, that Georgia, that people either speak too slow to comprehend, or they all speak at the tempo of
the
an
sunrise?
auctioneer. That's either.
Oh,
Well, I
I
can tell you for sure that it's a little different than what y'all might think of here. And a slightly northern approach to what happens down in your southern cousins.
So, folks, Nathan grew up in Georgia.
I did.
He remarkably has gotten rid of his, southern accent. Like, when I first met him, I could definitely be fooled that he wasn't from, the South. But he can let his southern accent swing a bit if he needs to.
Are you
I can't even.
drunk enough to do your grandma yet? We've been asking all night.
One more beer.
I was gonna
One more
say
beer.
I
One more
haven't been
beer,
asking
and then
all night, but
grandma.
I really want to hear that now.
You want to hear
So,
it,
Joe, I tried to
That's a good
recreate
choice,
his
honey.
grandma's
It's a
accent
little-
earlier.
Yeah, can
And
you repeat that for me?
the
Luke?
best I could do was, "Oh, bless your heart."
That's
That sounds like what I expected.
Anyone from civilized country.
civilized. What are you saying about Georgia? We got off topic here.
Dude, I met his,
You're in the
Included.
elitist.
I met his
group.
family
I'm
in
sorry.
Atlanta, a major city.
If someone ever says "bless your heart,"
Bless your heart.
they are telling you that you are a fucking idiot.
Oh
but-
my
but we-
goodness.
We were talking about this earlier, Cara.
Oh.
We were talking about this earlier.
Not necessarily.
No, we fixed this.
That right there could be interpreted as
It's all context.
shots fired towards the great country of Georgia.
Wait,
Thank
Georgia
you.
is a country,
Hey, we
though.
do. It is a country. You're not wrong.
Hey, Joe, what are you trying to
Why do you
say?
think they call them country fucks?
What?
Because
Oh, God.
Is that what they call
in
them?
their own country. When you say that's a real country boy, well,
Let's clear
Wait,
up the
is it-
bless
wait,
your
is it
heart,
not
though.
Country
Country?
fucks?
Because we already cleared that up.
I didn't say that.
Who cleared that with
Oh, it was right before you. No, it,
Oh,
no,
God,
it
let's
was
just
before you
move
got
on to
home
the
from work
segments.
earlier.
Wait, I have a good segment.
I have a good segment. I have a really good segment too.
rails off the fur.
Joe, do you have a fact or
Well,
fiction?
I don't have a fact or fiction. I just know from my, travels that apparently. And Luke, you're gonna find this very interesting.
Yeah.
That did you know that at any given moment, about 1% of the world is drunk?
Nathan.
1%.